Thank you.
Into restorative practice and pathways, right?
I'm Janice Antonek. I teach Spanish here at the Middle College, and I probably learned this term and the acronym through some staff development from Mrs. Simmons, but I've been teaching a long time, and I'm a believer in teaching to the whole child and the notion that you have to be well in every sense, mentally, physically, socially, and so I also, with what Mrs. Simmons says, is that practicing it and knowing about it, but the terminology came to me really relatively recently.
Absolutely, and thank you so much. And as we know, this is not, something new. The language might be a little bit new, but all good teachers do social emotional learning as well. And so I want to thank you all for your time today and being present. Let's jump right into our questions.
So Skylar.
Okay, this is Skylar. Come on in, Skylar. I'll let you get settled. You have that paper too? Okay, perfect. So our first question is, what is social emotional learning and what does it mean to you?
Social emotional learning, it's like not only like having like inspiration relationships with your students and the people around you, but it's also like being able to work as a group, being able to lead people, being able to like know what to do, maybe, and it also helps with you being independent, as it like helps with like being more responsible, being self-aware, things like that.
Okay, thank you for that. So,
And I would say, I think a word that comes to mind when I think of social emotional learning is connection. And actually that's our theme for like our staff this year.
Okay.
Ms. Brown always has like a theme that we work through each year.
Okay.
And so this year it's been connection.
Okay.
And connecting with our parents, with our students, with each other. And so, we started a house system this year too for the first time. And so that's a part of our connection piece of what we're trying to do and increase here at the Middle College at UNCG.
I love it. Thank you. Our next question, what does today's students, tomorrow's leaders mean to you?
So today's students, tomorrow's leaders, it means exactly what it says. I think today in the sense, our students are being equipped with the knowledge to know how to lead, to know how to work in groups through SEL. And we can take those things that we're learning today or in our time in school and use it when we get into the real world and then we're in our jobs or we're in positions of power where we need to be able to work with people.
Absolutely, thank you. Jump back in. Okay, thank you for that. And then our next question is, how do you work to advance SEL in your classroom, school, district, or community?
Okay. I maybe have a slightly different spin on SEL. We in education are kind of guilty of reifying things, that notion of turning intangible things into objects, SEL. And so when we do that, very often it can come with mandates or requirements, like you must put in your lesson plans an SEL activity at least once a week, and that feels to me very burdensome or put upon. I like to take those mandates to the next level, which is more authenticity, authentically using it. When is it authentic to build that into the classroom? And in the world language classroom, it's very easy because things I take for granted that we do is you ask questions, how are you doing today? Or what did you do this weekend? And language is about talking. So those things kind of come out naturally. Plus, one of our focus areas for world language is identity. So those questions of what makes you happy, how would you describe your personality? Some of the, depending on the language level, how deep you can go with the questions and answers, but it's really kind of built into our curriculum in a more authentic way than, say, take it off the shelf. And I don't think anybody intends it to be that way, but sometimes it can be. So another example is that a lot of times I do things like have students line into groups and they partner talk. What do you like to do? What do you like to eat? What's your favorite restaurant? Who is the best cook in your house or something? And 1 minute conversations, and then they go to the next person and the next person and the next person. And so I don't say this is an SEL activity, but no student who participates in that can leave a school day saying they didn't talk to one person.
Absolutely.
They've talked to 15 people.
Right.
And I think it's very hard for today's teens to sometimes get out of their comfort zone, like to just say, hey, we haven't met yet, but let's talk. I think I can see the people at this table with us being likely to do that, but some students wouldn't. And so once they talk to someone in that little partner group, they don't necessarily have to become best friends, but they might actually start talking. So I try to build them into my activities without actually calling it SEL. And the other thing I do is that we do a lot of small group work, small group reading, kind of like literacy stations in elementary school. And I do, it's a great opportunity to do one-on-one check-ins. Like I know actually every student in the school and because we're a small school, but I have a student, for example, last semester, I'm teaching this semester, and there's been a big personality change. A lot more serious and a lot more reserved. And so I asked, hey, everything going okay? And I said, you don't have to tell me, but you could if you wanted to, or we've got Mrs. Simmons or Miss Manuel, and the student thanked me for asking and said, no, I'm okay. Maybe it's just in with a different peer group or something, but I try to do those private check-ins,
right.
Instead of, I think they're a lot more authentic, to go back to that word, than the, how is everybody feeling today, from a scale of 1 to 10, because that, another good example is we're sharing favorite memories. They have to write a memory that is powerful enough to them that they might tell a child, or a niece or nephew in the future. And so one student said that they were with the same students K-8, had the same friends, for 9 years, and then came to this school and knew nobody. And that's an experience they will never forget. And I took the SEL risk because I felt like I needed to, and I said, well, are you happy you're here, and have you made friends? And that they said, oh yes. So then I got to say, and if not, I would have tried to work on that harder.
Right.
But that person's good. So so that's how I try to incorporate it in the classroom, either through a whole group activity where they don't even necessarily realize it, or kind of private check-ins. Students used to tease me because I used to use the term, instead of snapping at someone about their behavior, I might say, to help them reflect, now, is that comment very pro-social? And so they kind of laugh and say, oh, Dr. A would say that's not very pro-social. So try to just use that, reflect on how what you said might impact on someone else. So, and that's really in the moment, because we got to think fast as teachers. So I'd say those are the 3 ways I use it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love how you said, like, how you just embed it in your pedagogical practices. It's not just, oh, let's start off with SEL and, check it off the box type thing. So I appreciate that.
I would add, as far as like my position for school-wide, is just lending support, to teachers. Also, again, the service learning program coach here for the school helps me to embed that in that way. At one point, we were doing Mental Health Mondays and just trying to send out messages through Remind that are encouraging and uplifting and things like that. And then just being intentional about the space that we hold. So like Service Learning Club, which I also advise, will often do like school cleanups and things like that, because they want to be proud of where they are, and the students will say, hey, we need a cleanup, so they initiate that too, and it's like, okay, let's do it. Even like spacing, when we first got into this building, we have this glass room downstairs, and so it was just so like targeted, everything right there. So we tried to add like coverings to the what do you call these fluorescent lights and things like that to make it more of a warm space. So we do have students that will go in there because they feel like, okay, this is more comfortable. We have access to the UNCG like furniture and things that excess supplies, and so they had this couch, and it's like, okay, let's bring that couch and put it next to a window, and let's just so being intentional about like where are spaces that students don't have to feel like they're in a fishbowl, or they can go and just have a quiet moment if they need it, because we don't have the luxury of additional classrooms to have like a calm down room or something like that. But so just finding ways in which to incorporate that in what we do have.
Yes, thank you for that, Ms. Simmons, as well. And we'll move on to our next question. How does SEL support mental health and overall well-being?
Okay, well, in general, I think SEL helps with mental health and overall well-being, because when you have like teachers and people in the staff reaching out to you constantly to like make sure that you're okay when they see you like looking down or like not having the best day, can be really helpful, because sometimes when you are feeling down, you don't want to go to someone to talk about it because you're like trying to shut everything out. But if someone actually comes up to you and like asks you how your day is going or how you are, it can help you like start to talk about your feelings and feel more open to start a conversation about how your day has been and how school is going, and making sure you're not like stressed out about too much schoolwork, because that can happen really easily.
Yes, thank you.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
I think SEL works best in a school that it permeates the whole environment. And we have administrators and office staff and other support people who notice and will do things like that come up. I had someone after a staff meeting, a peer, come up and say, "Are you okay today? You seem so serious, or you're not your old self." And that was a check-in, and so it permeates our school that you're going to be noticed if you're feeling different or down, and like I love what Skylar said, that it's so true. People don't always want to say, I'm feeling kind of bad, but if someone else notices, that's powerful, and we do a lot of noticing in this school.
Absolutely.
I think that says a lot, that even if, because some people will just say, "Oh, I'm fine," and keep going, but I think that's a testament to the relationships, that if someone came up and said that, scholars saying they feel honest enough to be, and safe enough to be honest and say, well, I actually could, use a minute or could use some help or things like that. So I think that's big too, and just making sure that, you're okay. We do see them, we know when their hair changes, when they're, looking different, we know when they're, playing sports, like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What are you doing this summer? What do you, just, and their personalities in a way that to some, they're like, oh my gosh, you know that?
Right.
Yeah, we pay attention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely pay attention as educators.
Yeah.
Those subtle changes. Okay, thank you guys for that. Our next question: how has SEL impacted your students, staff, families, or the broader community?
So I think the impact, as we've talked about, is feeling home at school, and feeling a part of a bigger community. Like Dr. Antoinette said, we have students, being a middle college, we have students who come here from all over the district. And so a lot of them don't know each other. They may know one or two people. And so we're really having to start kind of from scratch with the community building when they get here. And so the importance is so that they do feel a community and a sense of family. We like to say we're just one big family. We encourage them to know each other, because being dually enrolled students, when they get out to the college campus, they can start to, they start here and then they, expand. And so it's like, okay, we're constantly thinking of ways in which to keep them connected to us and to each other. And so I think what we see is that connection, that safe, space. We have students who graduate from here. I think we've even had last school year we had one from our very first class in 2015 come by just to say hi. And so, you know, that's what we see is a long-lasting community of people who, you know that we care here. They can come back here. We've had students come back after, you know, trying and feeling unsuccessful in the real world and saying, I need help. You know, and they know that they can come here, and current students, knowing that there is always somebody. We ask them, you know, make sure you have at least one adult and one peer that you can go to if you were having a bad day here, and think about that. Who would that be? You know, and so it's about the community that they feel.
I love that. And I mean, just thinking about all the students I run into, some of my old middle school students, I started teaching in 2016. And every time I run into them, some of my questions are, what are you doing? Do you need support?
Yes.
And I've gotten a lot of students, I don't know what I'm doing. I do need support. Take my number. Come on, let's talk. Because like you said, if you create that space for a safe community, the students will feel, you know, great to be able to talk to you. So I like that you brought up that point.
And I think it's important too to know that like SEL is not just, you know, sitting there talking about your emotions. I think, you know, especially with our house leader, Justin and I are with our houses. Justin and I are house leaders for the greenhouse, and Skylar.
Wow.
See, but. So I know we had around Halloween time, we had like it wasn't Halloween, it was a book character. And we had like a school-wide competition of like book characters through our houses, and then they came together. And I just like remember during that time, like with our houses, it's people from every grade level. So there's a lot of interaction that goes on in our school because of how small it is, but not really more so like grades interacting with each other. And I just like remember just like everybody picking out their costumes and be like, well, you know, she did it really good, but look at all the effort she put in. And it was just really good to see like the relationship skills that our house were building during that time, even in like a competition setting.
Right. Thank you for that.
I feel like those personalities come out when we compete.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, my next question is, how do you practice SEL in your personal life?
I mean, I have an 11-year-old daughter, so it's conversations, it's, you know, ensuring that as she goes through this preteen into teen phase that I remain safe. You know, like, I'm gonna tell you the truth, I'm your mom, but you can tell me even when you do wrong or when you think wrong, because we're just going to talk through it. So I think using SEL at home in that way with my child and with my friends and people, just like, I'm a no judgment zone across the board, at school, at home, whatever. I'm not going to judge you. We're going to talk about it. You know? And I might try to help you redirect on some things that aren't safe for you. But if it makes you happy, and we say in my community, if you like it, I love it, you know, kind of thing. And sometimes that means that you really hate it, but sometimes it's just like, you know, it's not for me, but I support you,
Right.
you know. And so I think that's one way that I can think of an example, is just continuing that safe space and that comfortability at home with my own child.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
And then I think a big part of SEL too is like the start with self and self-awareness and self-management. And I think, you know, a lot of students, no matter who you are, you might not want to talk about your feelings to anybody, and that's just who you are. But I know me personally, like the mindfulness that SEL through self-awareness has taught me has definitely like helped me recognize my emotions more and like when they come up, and then self-management, how to go through them without making it somebody else's problem, essentially.
Thank you. Yeah, that is big. Thank you.
I think sometimes, you know, it's self-care. And what are you doing to take care of yourself? Is it you're playing a sport? Is it you're going to the gym? Is it you're reading a book? Is it, you know, you're just doing mindfulness in silence, you know, and things like that. So just trying to find ways in which to find your peace and protect it.
That part.
That is big nowadays.
It is. I've been saying it for a while.
The older
I should have trademarked it. No,
Put it on a T-shirt.
right. That makes it real. Put it on a T-shirt.
Right, because no one can take your piece away from you. Okay, our next question is, do you have an engaging story about implementing SEL in your community?
All right. Oh, I love this question. And probably my students know what I'm going to say, but because in teaching school, you can't always predict when you get out in the community. I can't go as a classroom teacher. I can't just leave and say, oh, I'm going to this special lunch every Friday. I'm going to Kiwanis. I'm going to here. I can't it's hard to join those community organizations with the time commitment to teaching. So 17 years ago in 2009, and as my students say, I wasn't even born yet. But 17 years ago, I started Greensboro Daily Photo. So I publish a feel-good photo a day of Greensboro with a paragraph about it. Because that gets me out in the community, and I interview people, or I'm just walking up and down the street and I say, oh my gosh, there's a new piece of art here. You should go look at it. So because we're so stressed as a society, and sometimes too in ourselves, I try to give back to the community through sharing the photos and just the stories of how great the city is. My daughter tells me that, Mom, you make Greensboro look even better than it is. And I said, well, that's kind of the goal, is to see the joy. And you can find the heavy, hard things in other places. And one more thing about community, if we look at school community, and I'm going to just grab this and show you. I do it's probably elementary school practices, but it doesn't hurt. We do little booklets. We fold them because I can give them the instructions in Spanish, and they're writing book summaries. So my examples here, and on the back, it says, this is to verify that I read to you some adult in their life. It can be any trusted adult. It could be the Pathways teacher. Either read it in Spanish, which it's written in, or in English if that person speaks no Spanish. They'd be telling them what it's about. Have them write a little feedback and sign it. So that gets my language class out in the community, kind of starts some of that two-way conversation, and it gives the students by high school, it's not elementary school anymore. They're probably not going to go home and say, hey, Mom, look at this book that I did, or look at this, but like Skylar was saying, almost about interacting, to kind of pre-plan that interaction and let them brag a little bit on how well they are doing gets the classroom out in the community when I can't be there because I'm busy teaching. Right. So those are my two examples.
Thank you. I love that example.
And talking about like community, back in October, I helped out with like GYC's Goulash, which is like this big Halloween event downtown. And it was really nice to like get out and see all of like the kids and their families going and having like a fun time in the community, and everyone like meeting new people and being able to like go to vendors and get candy and just have like an experience that they might not be able to have elsewhere.
So that's through your service learning and your volunteerism.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say I ran into them downtown and took pictures of them. Yay.
That was exciting.
Yay. I love seeing them out in the wild, as we say. Oh, wow.
And it's funny, it's all coming together, because that's what I was going to say. Like, I love seeing students out. So, like, we started Book Buddies this year with Service Learning Club. We've done, backpack beginnings and collected here in school, but then taken it to there and help pack bags and things like that. So that's what I like seeing happen. I also work very well with NCCJ, and so they come here like every year since I've started. This is my 11th school year here, and every year I always bring, did you jump? Like, ooh, it's a long time. So I bring them here every year to do like an any day with students and encourage going to any town. Addison did, and becoming any towners, and so just having that piece too to also connect students with spaces outside of school that can continue that social emotional learning and that place that they can be themselves and have fun and be accepted.
Right. Thank you. And what outcomes or research findings have you seen with implementing SEL?
When I researched about implementing SEL, I found out that it reduces anxiety, especially about school and having all the stress about having work to do. It reduces that, and also it's increased like grades and how much fun students are having at school because they're able to
Absolutely. Thank you. And I know we know for their SEL day, they'll be on spring break.
We'll be on spring break, so we're encouraging self-care and vacations on SEL day. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I truly enjoyed this robust conversation about SEL and its impact on our students, teachers, and all stakeholders involved in educating our future leaders. I want to leave you with this quote that I read by Lisa Zagas that says, SEL is not one more thing on the plate, it's the plate. This means to me that in order for learning to take place, we have to start with SEL first. I want to thank all participants again for joining us today, and remember to always pour into today's students because they are tomorrow's leaders.